From the moment I met Hannah, I felt like the luckiest man in the world. We met at a local bookstore, both reaching for the same novel by Jane Austen. It was a cliched moment straight out of a romantic comedy, but it was real, and it was ours. Our shared love for literature quickly blossomed into a deep and meaningful relationship. We spent countless hours discussing our favorite books, exploring new authors, and even writing short stories together. Our connection was immediate and profound, and it wasn't long before I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. Our wedding day was a fairy tale. We married in a beautiful garden surrounded by family and friends. Hannah looked radiant in her white dress, and I couldn't believe how lucky I was to have found someone so perfect. We exchanged vows under a canopy of flowers, promising to love and cherish each other for all eternity. The reception was filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt speeches from those who knew us best. As we drove away that night, cans clinking behind our car, I felt like the happiest man alive. Hannah and I quickly settled into married life. We bought a charming house in the suburbs, filled it with books and memories, and began building a future together. We shared everything, our dreams, our fears, our aspirations. We spent lazy Sunday mornings reading in bed, went on spontaneous road trips, and cooked elaborate meals together in our cozy kitchen. Life with Hannah was everything I had ever dreamed of and more. We both had demanding careers. I was a software engineer, and Hannah was a graphic designer. Despite our busy schedules, we always made time for each other. We had a routine. Every evening, we would take a walk around the neighborhood hand in hand, talking about our day. It was a simple ritual, but it was ours, and it kept us connected. One of our most significant projects as a couple was renovating our dream home. We found an old Victorian house with a lot of character and potential. We poured our hearts into restoring it, making it truly ours. Hannah had a keen eye for design, and her touch was evident in every room. We created a cozy reading nook by the window, filled with plush cushions and shelves lined with our favorite books. Our kitchen became a haven for culinary experiments, where we spent countless evenings cooking and laughing together. The first signs that something was wrong were subtle. Hannah started working late more frequently, claiming she had tight deadlines and demanding clients. At first, I didn't think much of it. We both had busy careers, and I knew how stressful her job could be. But as the weeks went by, her absences became more frequent, and her explanations less convincing. She seemed distant, preoccupied, and our evening walks became rare. I tried to be understanding, reminding myself that she was under a lot of pressure at work. But the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach grew stronger. I started noticing little things, the way she would quickly close her laptop when I entered the room, the hushed phone conversations she would take in another room. My mind raced with possibilities, but I pushed them aside, not wanting to believe that there could be something seriously wrong. One weekend, Hannah announced that she needed to go on a business trip to a nearby city. It seemed sudden, and her explanation was vague. She packed a bag and left early Saturday morning, promising to call when she arrived. The call never came. I spent the weekend trying to keep myself busy, but my mind kept drifting to Hannah. When she finally returned on Sunday evening, she seemed unusually tired and distant. I asked her how the trip went, and her response was curt and evasive. My best friend David had always been a source of support and wisdom. We had known each other since college, and he was like a brother to me. When I told him about my suspicions, he listened patiently. David suggested that I keep an eye out for any more unusual behavior, just to ease my mind. He assured me that it was probably nothing, but his suggestion planted a seed of doubt that I couldn't ignore. I began to pay closer attention to Hannah's actions. I noticed that she was spending more time on her phone, texting late into the night, and taking calls in another room. She seemed more distant, her laughter less frequent, and our conversations more superficial. The intimacy we once shared was slipping away, replaced by a growing sense of unease. Dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. One evening, while cleaning up after dinner, I accidentally knocked over Hannah's purse. As I picked up the scattered contents, I noticed a receipt from a fancy restaurant. It was dated the same night she had supposedly been working late. My heart sank as I realized that she had lied to me. I didn't confront her immediately, Instead, I decided to gather more evidence before making any accusations. Over the next few weeks, I discreetly checked her phone and email whenever I had the chance. I found more inconsistencies, text messages from an unknown number, vague and cryptic, and emails that hinted at plans she hadn't mentioned to me. My suspicions grew, and I knew I had to do something. I confided in David once again, showing him the evidence I had gathered. He was shocked and sympathetic, offering to help me uncover the truth. We decided to follow Hannah one evening when she said she was going out with friends. It was a drastic step, but I needed to know what was really going on. That night, Hannah told me she was meeting up with friends for a girls' night out. I tried to act normal, but my heart was pounding in my chest. As soon as she left, David and I got into his car and followed her. We kept a safe distance, not wanting to be seen. Hannah drove to a high-end restaurant on the other side of town, a place she had never mentioned before. My stomach churned as I watched her walk inside, wondering what I would find. David and I parked the car and waited for a while before deciding to go in. We entered the restaurant, scanning the crowd for any sign of Hannah. After a few minutes, I spotted her in a secluded booth, talking animatedly with a man I didn't recognize. They were laughing and holding hands, and the sight of them together made my blood run cold. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal wash over me as I realized that my worst fears had come true. I knew I needed proof, so I discreetly took out my phone and snapped a few pictures of them together. David did the same, making sure to capture the intimate moments between Hannah and this stranger. It was painful to watch, but I knew it was necessary. I needed undeniable evidence to confront her, and to have something solid if it came to that. We stayed at the restaurant for a while, gathering as much information as we could before quietly slipping out. When Hannah returned home that night, I was waiting for her. I sat in the living room, the pictures I had taken laid out on the coffee table in front of me. She walked in, surprised to see me still up. "Mike, why are you still awake?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. I looked at her, my heart heavy with the weight of what I was about to do. "We need to talk," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I could see the worry in her eyes as she sat down across from me. I slid the photos across the table, watching as her expression shifted from confusion to shock to guilt. "What's this?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "You tell me," I replied, my tone cold and distant. "Who is he, Hannah?" She looked down at the photos, unable to meet my gaze. For a moment there was silence, and then she broke down, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Mike," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for this to happen. It's just, I've been feeling so lost and unfulfilled." Her words cut deeper than any knife. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about everything I believed we had. I learned that her true motive had always been to seek something beyond our marriage, something she felt she couldn't get from me. She admitted that she had been unhappy for a while, but instead of talking to me, she had sought comfort in someone else. Her arrogance and hypocrisy were staggering. The woman who once spoke about love and commitment now revealed a side I had never imagined. She was unstable, swinging from anger to regret within moments. One minute she was lashing out, and the next, she was sobbing, begging for forgiveness. It was a chaotic and emotionally intense confrontation, one that left me feeling drained and hollow. Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. The divorce process was grueling. Hannah fought for every penny, her true colors showing as she prioritized her own desires over the years we had spent together. The legal battles were bitter, each court appearance feeling like a stab to the heart. She demanded more than her fair share, arguing that she deserved it for putting up with me all these years. It was a side of her I had never seen before, and it broke my heart to witness how far she was willing to go for material gain. I moved out of the house, staying with David for a while as I tried to piece my life back together. The loneliness was overwhelming, and I found myself questioning everything I had ever believed about love and trust. The house, once filled with so many happy memories, now felt like a place of betrayal and pain. I couldn't bear to stay there any longer, so I let her have it, along with most of our belongings. It wasn't worth fighting over material things when my heart was already shattered. The divorce didn't just affect me, it rippled through our circle of friends and family. Many were shocked by the news, unable to believe that the perfect couple they admired was falling apart. Some friends took sides, while others tried to remain neutral, creating an uncomfortable tension in our social circles. My parents were devastated. Having grown close to Hannah over the years, they struggled to understand how things had gone so wrong, and their pain added to my own. David, ever the loyal friend, stood by my side through it all. He became my confidant, my anchor in the storm. He listened patiently as I vented my frustrations, offering advice and support. His unwavering presence was a lifeline, helping me navigate the emotional turmoil of the divorce. The emotional toll of the divorce was immense. I struggled with feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt, wondering if I had somehow failed as a husband. Nights were the hardest, lying awake in the dark, replaying every moment of our marriage in my mind, searching for answers. The betrayal cut deep, leaving scars that would take a long time to heal. Therapy became a crucial part of my recovery. Talking to a professional helped me process my emotions and understand that the blame wasn't solely mine. The therapist helped me see that Hannah's actions were a reflection of her own issues, not my shortcomings. It was a difficult realization, but it was also the first step towards healing. Slowly, I began to heal. Therapy helped, as did the unwavering support of friends and family. I started focusing on myself, rediscovering hobbies that I had neglected during my marriage. I began hiking again, finding solace in nature's beauty. Each step on the trail was a step away from the pain. I found comfort in the simple things, like the sound of birds chirping or the feeling of the sun on my face. These small moments of peace helped me find my way back to myself. David was instrumental in my recovery. He dragged me out of the house, got me to socialize, and reminded me that there was still a world outside my pain. He even encouraged me to take a cooking class, something Hannah and I had once loved to do together. It was difficult at first, but gradually I started to enjoy it. I found that cooking was a way to express myself, to create something beautiful out of the chaos of my emotions. As the months passed, the wounds began to close. I found strength in my solitude and started to enjoy my own company. The dreams I once had with Hannah transformed into personal goals. I decided to travel, something I had always wanted but had put off for our future together. I visited new places, met new people, and slowly began to rebuild my life. During this period of self-discovery, I found new passions that brought me joy and fulfillment. I took up painting, something I had always been curious about but never pursued. It started as a way to distract myself, but soon it became a therapeutic outlet. The act of creating something from nothing, of expressing my emotions through colors and strokes, was incredibly cathartic. I even joined a local art group where I met others who shared my passion and made new friends. I also got involved in volunteering. Giving back to the community helped me gain perspective and reminded me that there was still goodness in the world. I spent weekends at a local animal shelter, helping care for abandoned pets. The unconditional love of the animals was healing, and knowing that I was making a difference in their lives brought me a sense of purpose. One day, months after our divorce was finalized, Hannah reached out to me. She sent a long, apologetic email, expressing regret for how things had ended and asking if we could meet to talk. Part of me wanted to ignore her, to leave the past in the past, but another part of me needed closure. I agreed to meet her at a cafe we used to frequent. Seeing Hannah again was surreal. She looked the same, yet different, as if the weight of her choices had aged her. We sat down and talked, and she apologized for everything she had done. She admitted that she had been chasing a life she thought she wanted, only to realize too late that it wasn't what truly mattered. Her words were sincere, and for the first time, I saw genuine remorse in her eyes. I listened, and when she was done, I told her about the pain she had caused me and how I had struggled to rebuild my life. It was a difficult conversation, but it was also necessary. We parted ways on better terms, and I felt a sense of closure that I hadn't realized I needed. It allowed me to finally let go of the anger and resentment I had been holding on to. Today I am in a much better place. I have a fulfilling career, a loving support network, and a renewed sense of self. I've even started dating again, taking things slow and learning to trust once more. It's not easy, but I'm determined to open my heart to the possibility of love again. Hannah is a part of my past, a chapter that has shaped who I am, but no longer defines me. I've learned to forgive, not for her sake, but for my own. Holding on to anger and resentment only weighs you down, and I've chosen to let go of that burden. Life is a journey, full of unexpected twists and turns. While I never could have predicted the path my life would take, I've come to accept and even embrace it. I've discovered strengths I never knew I had and found joy in the simple things. Each day is a new opportunity to grow, to heal, and to move forward. Looking back, I realized that Hannah's infidelity, though devastating, was a catalyst for my personal growth. It forced me to confront my vulnerabilities and rebuild my life on my terms. I often wonder if she ever regrets her decisions. I've heard through the grapevine that her new relationship didn't last. She reached out a few times, expressing moments of regret, but I knew better than to fall back into that toxic cycle. In the end, I emerged stronger and more self-aware. My journey taught me the importance of self-love and resilience. While the betrayal left scars, it also forged a new, more resilient version of myself. To anyone going through a similar experience, remember this: the pain is temporary, but the strength you gain is everlasting. Life moves forward, and so must we.